We might have just got the worst banners in Genshin Impact history. Hello everybody, Gekfin here. Today...
All of it, whatever it is.
Thank you, Noelle. Today, we have bad news. Okay, not that bad, but kind of bad news. The new Genshin banners just came out, and they are not worth it, to say the least. If you're planning to spend on these banners, especially for 4 stars, save. And I'm not over-exaggerating when I say this. I don't think we've seen a worse banner in terms of 4 stars since the start of the game. But in case you don't believe me, why don't we get right in to the video? But before we do that, if you could just take a second to go down and click that subscribe button. Only a small percentage of you are actually subscribed, and Amber would really appreciate it if you did subscribe. So with that all being said, let's get into the video. Alrighty, so why don't we take a look at Hoyoverse's latest Twitter post? Or actually, I have the Hoyo Lab event page up right now. So these are the 2 new banners. The first one here is going to feature Zhongli, and the second one is going to feature Tartaglia. We also have the weapon banner here, which I will go over a little more later, but let's just start with the 2 character banners, because these are the 2 big evils, if anything. So here we have a banner with an amazing 5-star in Zhongli. Zhongli is a great 5-star, although most people probably already have him by now because he's so good. If you haven't rolled for him, what are you doing? He's amazing. You'll never die if you have him. So most people, if you don't have him, you would want to roll on this banner. Probably not for constellations, but maybe you won't want to roll for him anymore because these 4 stars are a little dissuading, especially for free-to-plays. We'll talk about the bottom one, Ferment, in a little bit, but first I want to touch on the top 2, Noelle and Sayu. Now, to get a good idea just how bad these characters are, let's look at a Genshin tier list. This is Genshin.gg, which isn't the most reputable site ever, but it's definitely the most famous one out of all the tier lists. And they have Noelle at D tier and Sayu at C tier, which I think is fair. I could even see an argument for Sayu being D tier, to be completely honest. Basically, the premise is they're not very good. They're very, very bad 4 stars, and there's not many like absolutely true bad 4 stars in the game, but Noelle is definitely one of those 4 stars. Her skills don't allow for very much versatility. They built Noelle to be a healer, but to be honest, she's more of a main DPS if anything. Her shield just does not compare to Zhongli, and her healing, similar to Hydro Traveler, you have to be on field to use her healing, which is absolutely atrocious for a healer. So you'll see most people just use main DPS Noelle, which is a funny build, but it's not very good. So first, that is D tier Noelle. The next character, Sayu, is unfortunately also not very good. She's one of the only characters in the game I don't have above level 80. I have like 90% of the game. Sayu is one of those characters that I don't have, mainly because her kit is kind of poor. The only thing that's fun about her is collecting crystal flies, which, to be honest, if you're a crystal fly collector, this is a big pickup because she makes farming crystal flies with her talent a lot easier. In terms of her combat ability though, her E just takes up way too much time on field, and you generally won't find much use in it in most combat. And then her burst is a nice little heal, and if you get her on a 4-piece Viridescent, maybe you could do a little swirl damage and get some debuffs. But there's so many other Anemo characters in the game that are just inherently better than Sayu is, like Sucrose, Faruzan is better, Jean is quite literally just a better version of Sayu. Lots of other options for Anemo debuffs besides Sayu. I would probably personally say that she's the weakest out of all the Anemo characters, maybe competing with Hazo. So already you can see the not so great value in this banner. Now the last character on this banner is Ferment, I believe is how you pronounce his name. We don't really know too much about his character yet. We've had a little glimpse of it in the trailer. So I believe here in the Genshin livestream, they give us a little glimpse of his kit. Yeah, right here. So he has something called the Purrs Timer, which is his little penguin thingy, which he keeps beside him. But from what it seems, he looks to be an on-field ice damage dealer. And if we know anything about main DPS 4 stars, they're usually never too good. He seems kind of similar to a Chongyun, except I believe his ice buff only applies to himself, but I'm not too sure yet. I haven't delved too deep into his kit because I don't look at leaks, but he kind of seems similar to Chongyun, and honestly, Chongyun isn't that great either, and plus Chongyun just looks cooler than he does. If I had to guess, he's probably going to be somewhere in the C tier. I can't imagine him being better than B tier. And honestly, if he is, you know what? More power to him. But for what it looks like, Ferment will not be that good. Not to mention the fact he's literally holding the bell in his icon pose. So that doesn't speak volumes for him. So to summarize quickly, in terms of this banner, we have 2 healers. One of them which systematically just doesn't work. And then lastly, what seems to be like a main DPS cryo buffer from what I understand, but again, I don't know too much about his kit, but he doesn't look like that strong. Maybe he'll be useful for swimming. I mean, who knows? But for right now, I don't have much hope for him. Luckily, the 5 stars do carry this banner quite a bit. Zhongli is a great shielder. Tartaglia has gone a little weaker over time, but he's still not a bad character at all. So if you are going to roll for the banner 5 stars, I would say they're worth it. However, for the 4 stars, D tier, probably C tier. Not the greatest banners in the world. Actually, I went to look back at old banners to see if we've ever had a worse banner over the time of Genshin Impact, and I genuinely do not think we've had a worse banner than this in terms of 4 stars. If we go back and look at older banners, we'll see like there's bad ones like Razor Toma Mika isn't a great banner, but even that I think is a tiny bit better than this current one. The 3.4 banners with Yao Yao, Yunjin, and Xinyan weren't great, but even then, Yunjin is pretty redeemable and a pretty decent 4 star, so I wouldn't even say it's that bad. Plus it had Alhaitham as the 5 star, so that kind of carried hard. All the way back to like earlier updates before 3.0, like we've always had at least one solid 4 star on the banner. I think this banner will be the first one without a solid 4 star on it. I think this may be the first. Unless Ferment beats all my expectations and turns out to be like a crazy good unit. In that case, I apologize, Ferment. Let's move on to the weapon banner. Enough of bullying poor Ferment. I'm sure he does not deserve it. The new weapon banner is decent-ish. I don't want to say too much. The Vortex Vanquisher is a complete waste of Primo Gems. There is no reason to ever get this weapon. The Vortex Vanquisher is complete and utter garbage. You probably have more luck going for about any other polearm in the game. The Polar Star is a pretty good weapon. The Polar Star is actually a weapon I went for on my main account and put on my official just to make all the Tartaglia mains really upset. This weapon is actually really fun to use and I've had a lot of good times using it, so I'd actually highly recommend the Polar Star. But is it worth losing the 50-50 to the Vortex Vanquisher? Definitely not. Not to mention these 4 stars, not great. Rust is good for Yoimiya, but that's about it. Wit Sith is a really good 4-star weapon. Dragon's Bane could be good for Zhongling in different EM compositions. Sacrificial's great sword isn't great, and the flute is a very bad 4-star. So overall, decent 4 stars, 1 good 5-star, and 1 bad 5-star. A decent weapon banner, but definitely not one I highly recommend rolling on, since the weapon banner is a complete and utter sham. But I don't know, let me know what you guys think of these banners in the comments below. Do you guys think this is the worst banner ever, or do you think it's decent? Am I a complete idiot for calling Ferment bad? I want to hear it all in the comments. But for right now, that is going to be the end of our video. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like these in the future, please consider subscribing or leaving a like down below. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.